celebration of 9th anniversary of National Medicine Regulatory Authority, organized by the National Medicine Regulatory Authority. So, we warmly welcome all of you this occasion.
As Sri Lankans, before commencing this occasion, I would like to invite all of you raise and sing the national anthem. Today, we gather in the warmth of tradition and the glow of anticipation. As we prepare to light the traditional oil lamp, let us reflect on its timeless significance, a beacon of wisdom, unity and prosperity. May its flickering flame illuminate our hearts and guide us through this auspicious occasion with grace and reverence.
So I cordially invite Honorable Minister of Health and Industry, Dr. Ramesh Patirana, Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. P.G. Mahipala, Country Representative of World Health Organization, Dr. Ala Kazim, Director General Health Services, Dr. Azila Gunawadana, Chairman, NMRA, Dr. Anand Vijay Vikraman, Chief Executive Officer, NMRA, Dr. Savin Semage, representing the Board of Directors, Mr. Palitha, representing Expert Committee, Dr. Shirani Chandrasiri, Director, Regulatory, NMRA, Mr. Arjuna Padma Peruma, Director, National Medicine Quality Assurance Laboratory, Mrs. Deepika Bulat Singhala, representing Administrative Staff, Accountant, NMRA, Mrs. Yamuna Karunaratne, representing the retired staff, members of NMRA, Mr. Leslie Warhagoda, President, Staff Welfare Association, NMRA, Mr. Samir Fernando, member from Senaka Bibile Foundation, Mr. Upasena Jayaratna, family member of Professor Senaka Bibile, Mr. Hiranjan Bibile, to lighten the traditional oil lamp.
Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Ramesh Patirana, Country Representative of the WHO, Dr. Alaka Singh, Chairman of State Pharmaceutical Corporation, State Engineering Corporation, Director General of Health Services, family members of Professor Senaka Bibile, board members of the NMRA, staff members of the NMRA and other distinguished guests. It is with great pleasure I welcome you all for this occasion where we celebrate the 9th anniversary of establishment of the NMRA. Since we started on 2015, we have completed 9 years with a lot of ups and downs, and I take this opportunity to give an introduction or short brief description of the previous 9 years we have spent. Before starting to talk about the NMRA, I think we cannot forget speaking of Professor Bibile, because he was the legend behind this concept. Professor Bibile, this from Wikipedia, it says he is considered as the greatest medical benefit of humanity that Sri Lanka has ever produced. So that is how the Wikipedia describes Professor Bibile's work. I'm not going to give details of Professor Bibile's work as Dr. Pali Tabekon is going to speak more on his work. However, I must say we have some pride, and I'm sure our Honourable Minister also has the same feeling, to say that we all hail from gold. Professor Bibile, though advocated a medicinal policy, for long years after that, we did not have any medicinal policy. This was an extract from a journal which says there were 2 attempts in 1991 and 1996 to develop a national medicines policy, which failed. However, then in 2005, a national medicines policy was formulated. As mentioned by Dr. Abekon is here, it was triggered by political changes, local lobby groups, wide variation in the cost of medicines, influences of international agencies, and so on. And that effort was strongly supported by the WHO. And the subsequent drug policy formulated was approved by the cabinet. That was in 2005. 3 main areas in the national medicines drug policy was to ensure the availability and affordability of efficacious, safe, and quality medicines relevant to the healthcare needs of the people in a sustainable and equitable manner, and then to promote the rational use of medicine by healthcare professionals, and to promote the use of essential medicines and promote local manufacturing. However, even though the policy was formed in 2005 and approved by the cabinet in 2005, and a national standing committee was appointed to facilitate the implementation, nothing much happened until 2011. And in 2011, again a steering committee was appointed, of which I was the member also. I was also a member. And then we started drafting a new legislation, a new act to formulate an authority. Then there were other committees which submitted their proposals regarding training, education, and improving local manufacturing, and so on. Again, nothing happened for 4 years. Then in 2015, and in 2012, in one of his presentations in Asian Pacific Conference of National Medicines Policies, Dr. Abekon mentioned, that was in 2012, he was optimistic and said, we'll let it go all the way, we will know soon. But again, we have to wait till 2015. And then another committee was appointed, and again I was fortunate to be in that committee with people like Dr. Pali Tabekon, Professor Priyadashini Galapatti, Professor R.L. Jayakodi, and Professor Julie De Silva, Mr. Krishanta, and Ms. Chinta. And then we again went through the act and finalized the act, which was, we had many meetings with stakeholders. This was amply supported by Dr. Aniversary who was the DDG planning at that time and the legal division of the ministry. And then the final draft was handed over to Draftman's office in September 2014. Again, for a few months, nothing happened. But then it was included in the 100-day program of the new president then, and then this was passed in Parliament in March, 6th of March 2015. But the passing the act alone was not enough. The authority had to be formed. Again, a lot of work went on, and on 2nd of July 2015, the authority was officially established after a gazette notification which was issued on 30th of June 2015. But then, this is what we inherited when we went to the office after starting the work. This is the situation of the office. The files, applications for registration, renewals, re-registration, all over the place. There was no place to sit for people who were working even. Let's see the mess we acquired. And in addition, we inherited a large number of medicines which were given registration, which caused a problem in testing of these medicines and also causing huge loss to Sri Lanka with foreign exchange. In his speech, then President, when the act was enacted, mentioned the CDDA, which the NMRA replaced. This is the most corrupted place in the Ministry of Health. During that period, there were many issues. Proper evaluation was not allowed to be done. Applications were not evaluated in an order. Drug Evaluation Committee, subcommittee opinions were disregarded or not sought. No objection letters, which later replaced by waiver of registration letters, were given without any justification. So these were the situation at that time. And this shows the number of drugs registered: 172 brands of atorvastatin, 59 brands of omeprazole, 78 brands of esomeprazole, 56 brands of sildenafil. This is the situation. But then we had a lot of pressure to other way from certain people in the press. This is one of the press articles. The NMRA is also refusing to issue mandatory no objection letters. So according to the writer. And then this another writing, there's a large confluence of interest and so on, written in a reputed paper by one Rajpala Vinayaka, attorney at law, and then we got to know that this writer is the appointed attorney at law representing the Sri Lanka Chamber of Pharmaceutical Industry. So that was the conflict of interest. Anyway, we had expectations politically as well as general public, especially on price reduction. As practicing clinicians, we were more concerned about the quality and safety and efficacy of medicines, and the staff was expecting better working conditions, and there would have been opportunities for research. So we thought, in line with the policies of Professor Senaka Bibile, to make efficacious, safe and quality medicines available to the public in Sri Lanka for an affordable price, to promote the rational use of medicines by healthcare professionals and consumers. And we dreamed, like the Bibile policy, to become a model for the rest of the world on medicine regulation. This slide I presented in 2015 November, when I gave an oration on Professor Senaka Bibile, organized by the State Pharmaceutical Corporation, and that was the dream. We came many strides under the leadership of Professor Jayakodi, Professor Krishanta Veerasurya, Professor Asita De Silva, Dr. Asita Vijayavanthan, and many things are done under difficult circumstances. These included streamlining the registration process, where many regulations, guidelines were formulated. Enormous work had been done during this time for these things, and we started documentary storage system for about 100 pharmaceutical items. Maximum retail price was introduced, which caused significant reduction of these medicines and other items. And we started the process of WHO benchmarking, and we started the process of NMRA system, which was later unfortunately sabotaged. Then came the era which I don't want to talk about, but then there were signs or rumors of a glimpse of hope. And then one day I got an unexpected call from the Honorable Minister. He was not the Health Minister at that time, asking whether I would like to be assume the position in the NMRA. I knew it was a very challenging thing. A lot of people asked me not to do that, but I thought somebody has to do this work. And with the confidence I had with the Honorable Minister, I agreed to his suggestion. Then when I came to the office, again I saw the same situation which I saw 9 years ago. This is the situation of 5 years everywhere. But we had the mandate to regulate the quality, safety, efficacy and affordability of medicines, medical devices and borderline products. At the moment we do cosmetics too. And we had the vision to improve the quality of medicines, healthcare products, and we had the vision to provide regulatory oversight and evidence-based decisions of medicine, healthcare products and cosmetics to ensure the safety, quality and efficacy for the benefit of the people of Sri Lanka. We had the challenges like the huge backlog of registration, re-registration, renewals, etc., human resources issues, infrastructure issues, quality testing issues. There were many court cases against the NMRA or where it was involved. And this was the situation in January this year. This is the backlog. We had 7,500 files to clear. New applications around for medicines around 2,100, for renewal of registration, renewal of variations of the drugs, and for medical devices about 500, and cosmetics another 900 and so on. So altogether we had 7,500. This was the situation in January. And with the able support from Dr. Savin Semagi, our CEO, we were able to make many strides. And this is another example of what was happening. Instead of giving the registration, the seals were put to give consignment clearance or renewal of registration. And these two seals are different. One is a forged one. So this what was happening due to the inefficiency of the authority. And instead of giving registration, when a consignment came, a consignment clearance had been given. For example, in 2023, 3,000 plus consignment clearance had been given for various to clear medicines from ports. And these were drugs which were registered previously, but pending renewal of registration or re-registration. And similarly with devices. But then we immediately stopped giving consignment clearance, because this was without any evaluation, anything, and a lot of malpractice had been happening. And we gave extension to 6 months extension to all, and during this period we started clearing up. So we had a crisis management, we had consultation with the WHO, Dr. Alaka Singh and the team supported us very much. And we had new registration and renewal pathways. We started using Reliance pathway, that is for the medicines and devices which are registered with authorities like US FDA, MHRA, TGA. So those were fast-tracked and given registration rapidly. So started this pathway, and then we started SOP for the SE evaluation and collective work for backlog clearance. So with this, by now, we have been able to reduce this, how the numbers were cleared. In May, you can see with the guidance given by the WHO and also with other processes, we were able to, by May, we were able to do more than 1,000 files in that month alone, using this crisis management system. Similarly, with devices, again we use the same method and cleared up. And in fact, these measures we have taken were praised by the national audit, mentioning that the Kaushal Niyamana Adhikari Parshvin Karaka Sabha Nirdesha Kriyatmaka Kirimila Pragatiyak Pennum Karan Bhavat Pativarya Prakash Kariye. So so it shows we were on the right path. And this is how the backlog had been cleared. We had 7,500 in January. Now we have reduced it to 3,500. Still a long way to go, but we have made significant strides. Last week we gazetted the mechanism for maximum retail, putting the maximum retail price. And in addition, we have taken measures to implement barcode in all the packets of medicines. So we can clarify the authenticity of these medicines by using a simple barcode. And we have identified 4 key steps, areas for the improvements in the near future. The main thing is the digitalization. Again, World Bank or the WHO has agreed to support us. Already they have called for an application for a consultant to do the initial work. And post-marketing surveillance is another key area which we are focusing on. We have, on contract basis, we have recruited some drug inspectors. And then the improvement of quality testing capacity, which I mentioned earlier. And also we are trying to have a process of document archiving. We have a lot of space being taken to have these hard copies of these files. And another need is to have a cosmetic act, because our act does not cover cosmetics, so it's necessary to have legal provisions, probably have a separate act for the cosmetic regulation. So this is what we are planning to do within next few days, and in long term, in line with the policies of President Pile, as I mentioned 9 years ago, still we have the dream to make our NMRA a model for rest of the world on medicine regulation. Thank you very much.
Good morning to all of you. Dr. Ananda Vijay Vikram, Chairman of NMRA, and Dr. Palita Bekon, our keynote speaker today, Dr. Alaka Singh, World Health Representative in Sri Lanka, Dr. Ajit Mendis, Chairman of the State Pharmaceuticals Corporation, Dr. Asela Gunaradhana, Director General of Health Services, members of Professor Bibile's family, distinguished guests and my dear friends. It's indeed a great pleasure and singular honor and privilege to be here this morning. I thank, on behalf of the Minister of Health, Dr. Vijay Vikrama, Dr. Savin Semage, and all at NMRA having invited us to come here today. And I thank at the same time, they've taken the challenge during the turbulent times, socially, politically, and economically, and they have resurrected the NMRA to its former glory, I would say. And Dr. Ananda Vijay Vikrama went into details as to how they have formulated or enacted this Act, National Medicinal Regulatory Authority, and also in subsequent times how the first chairman and the first CEO and everybody who worked for the NMRA worked tirelessly to ensure that Professor Bibile's policy in providing efficacious, good quality medicine at affordable prices to the Sri Lankan people. So it's job well done. I like to thank and congratulate everyone who's been instrumental in supporting and bringing this act and also establishing National Medicinal Regulatory Authority of Sri Lanka. And also I would be failing in my duties unless I thank Dr. Ananda Vijay Vikrama. Once I was persuaded to take up the challenge of being the Minister of Health, I wanted to appoint certain people of good caliber, quality, to some of the most important positions. And subsequent to meeting with His Excellency the President, I requested that I wanted to appoint a secretary of my choice. That's how I spoke to Dr. Palita Mahipala, and he readily agreed to leave behind a very important and lucrative job behind in Pakistan as a representative of World Health Organization, come back to serve the motherland. And similarly, Dr. Ananda Vijay Vikrama, it was a challenging time for him as well. he took up the position as the chairman of the NMRA. And also, Dr. Savin Semage was holding a very important position in WHO in New Delhi. Readily agreed to come back and serve Mother Lanka. So I must thank all of them. They have brought the name of the health ministry back to its former glory. Why is it former glory, I say? Because WHO, World Health Organization, always recognized Sri Lanka as one of the countries that provides better quality health care at affordable and lower costs. So we have a very important infrastructure here with 1,100 institutions. And more importantly, we have a very strong human resource factor. We have nearly 150,000 people working in the health sector who can bring its former glory back to current situation. So I thank everyone. Thankfully, sanity prevails now. As Dr. Anand Vijay explained, they have cleared the backlog. Under these circumstances, if they work at that efficiency, or with more efficiency, they should be able to clear everything within 6 months down the line. And also, at this particular moment, I must thank especially World Health Organization. They have come forward to support Sri Lankan healthcare sector every time. Now, especially they are concentrating on areas like strengthening activities of the National Medicinal Regulatory Authority. We have, on the long run, like we have enacted this NMRA, on the long run we have to ensure that we have a similar act covering the subject of cosmetics. And also we've been discussing with the stakeholders, the food sector as well. So in the long run we need to have semi-autonomous bodies for the cosmetics and also for the food sector in the long run. And also, since we assume duties, we've been constantly asking them to go ahead with the process of digitization. Something very important. Previous efforts were derailed due to certain issues that had cropped up at that time. But it's never too late to do the right thing. We should fast track digitizing our NMRA activities as well. So, and also, I would like to mention the fact that Sri Lanka historically had been importing drugs worth of nearly $1 billion US, which is staggering sum of money given the backdrop of economic crisis. But also historically we have been spending that money. Professor Bibile wanted to provide better quality medicines, medicaments to the Sri Lankan people. At the same time, he wanted to ensure that we produce good quality medicines in this country. So, because of the efforts of the successive governments, now it has come to the forefront. We are producing nearly 25% of the local need of the medicaments in this country, and it's thriving and also it's improving. So, the policy-wise, we have asked the NMRA to prioritize once it comes to the registration. Yes, you do have to give priority for the re-registration, but also at the same time, we are prioritizing local manufacturers' products as well. So in that case, they will be gearing out to ensure that we provide, we stretch out our helping hand to the local manufacturers on the long run. I'm quite confident within 5 years down the line, if we provide the requisite support to the local manufacturers, they would be able to provide at least 75% of the local need, and they are of good quality, I would say. So that is one of the main aims of the Sri Lankan government. Policy-wise, we are here to provide that, whatever the support they require from the side of the Sri Lankan manufacturers. But one silver lining of the dark cloud actually, during the time of import restrictions, not only the medicaments, but also the other products have also been manufactured in this country. But you can't have the restrictions every time. In the long run, World Trade Organization and also the International Monetary Fund request us to relax the regulations rather, to ensure that we compete at the market level, ensuring that we allow other market forces to act on our products as well. Nevertheless, as a government, we are duty bound to ensure that we go ahead with local manufacturing, not only the medicaments, but also the other sectors as well. So I think on the long run, I think we have cleared the path. There are no influence from the ministry side to ensure to create unnecessary nuances in relation to registration. They have streamlined the process, and a competent set of people are spearheading the organization. With that, I think we are building the confidence of the public of the country. That is what we require for the health sector. So I think without taking much ado, I don't need to trespass some of the technical areas which I already discussed now. All of us are waiting to hear Professor Abekon's keynote speech. So I take this opportunity to thank and congratulate NMRA, and also thank everyone who had supported this worthy cause. Thank you very much, and have a pleasant day ahead.
Next, I would like to invite Dr. P.G. Mahipala, Secretary of the Ministry of Health, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to everybody. The Honorable Minister of Health and Industries, Dr. Ramesh Pathirana, the Chairman of the NMRA, Dr. Ananda Vijayavikrama, the keynote speaker, a veteran known to all of us, Dr. Palita Bekom, the WHO representative to Sri Lanka, Dr. Alaka Singh, the Director General of Health Services, Dr. Asela Gunawardana, the Chairman of the State Pharmaceutical Corporation, former DG Health, Dr. Ajit Mendis, all the other distinguished and esteemed guests present here today, colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen. It is rather not customary for me to address after the Honorable Minister address the gathering. So generally we address and finally he speaks, and that's how we go by our agenda in any functions. But I have a privilege today, with a great honor, to address you all after the Honorable Minister address you. It's my great pleasure to stand before you today in this wonderful occasion to say a few words, particularly because I may be the last Director General Health Services over the Drug Authority. I remember when the transitioning period and discussions were held, Dr. Palita Bekom was entrusted with a team of experts to set up an independent authority for the regulation of pharmaceuticals in Sri Lanka. Maybe it goes back to 2010 or so. And many said, you are losing your authority. And people don't like to lose their powers and authorities. But I said I am the happiest person because we need to set up this institution like in many other countries, not only looking at the pharmaceutical regulation in Ministry of Health, but we need to really look at for the entire nation. So therefore we all feel with the best practices we have seen that we need to have an independent authority which goes beyond the Ministry of Health, so it's coming under the Honorable Minister's purview to set up to ensure that regulation is done well. So I am delighted because of that to stand here. And Honorable Minister may have another privilege apart from the Minister of Health, where 9 years has passed after setting up this great organization, the wonderful work they have done to be reminded or commemorated. As the Minister of Industry, he also can be proud that the SPC under Professor Senaka Bibile was set up in 1971 under the Ministry of Industries. So that's another privilege the Honorable Minister has. Now that organization also come back to the Ministry of Health for us to ensure safe and quality drugs with affordable prices are given to the people in this country. I was on the other side of the venue where today we had the annual academic sessions inauguration of the Sri Lanka Clinical Pharmacologists and Therapeutics. And I was delighted to see that there were some foreign guests also coming and talking about how best we should regulate our system and what we are doing well as well. So I thought it's more appropriate to say a few of the things I have shared there with you all as well. I read an article 2 months back which is on safety in different events. The article went on to analyze the safety involved with the air travel. The risk involved or risk with deaths involved with the deaths in air travel is 1 in 3 million, quite low. And also it further says if you travel by sea, risk is more. Travel by road, you all know, 6,000 deaths annually in Sri Lanka due to road traffic accidents, so it's quite high. Then it went on to say that scuba diving risk is more, climbing mountains risk is more, and finally said staying in hospital is more riskier than any of these events. 1 in 300 compared to 1 in 3 million in air travel. Getting to a hospital itself is very risky because of many issues. So patient safety has been taken as one of the major issues by World Health Organization and Ministries of Health to ensure. And we go on reforming our patient quality assurance unit to transform it to a patient safety and accreditation bureau. And Honorable Minister is taking the cabinet paper to ensure that new structure will be set up there to ensure that Sri Lanka under the health sector reforms will take forward the accreditation as one of the way forward to ensure that patient safety is there. And out of the events or errors taking place, the main error is medication errors. Medication errors. 1 in 10 people who goes through our health system or any health system in the world will get some errors during this stay. 1 in 30 gets medication errors. And also WHO stated 70% of the injections given in the primary healthcare institutions has no use. So using medication is extremely useful. And when it comes to the regulation of medication to ensure medicines are effective and affordable and safe, I think the NMRA has a greater role to play. So we are extremely happy that we have an esteemed chairman today heading the NMRA. CEO and other members of the NMRA are very learned people, and we have a good team there, and they are taking many measures to ensure that transparency in registration is being ensured, and also the regulation of the prices and others will be taken care of. 2016, 100 drugs were gazetted with prices, and then thereafter we could not do that. I think it's high time that we looked into this and ensure that more drugs pricing is being there, and we gazette it with the prices so that the poor people of the country will get safe medication, effective medication for affordable prices. I don't think this is a time that I should go on talking. Ministry of Health is extremely delighted to have this esteemed organization within the Ministry of Health, and we are very happy it's moving forward. We have to strengthen it. We have to ensure that they get the support from the ministry and other agencies from the government side to ensure that their work is done smoothly. And in fact, in time to come, the building where the Ministry of Health is housing today will be handed over to the NMRA maybe in another 3 years' time for them to function in a better way. And they are putting up their lab and expanding it so that the safety of the medication will be further ensured. And also this is a time that we should think about, remind ourselves about the great work done by one of our great sons of the soil, Professor Senaka Bibile, who born in 1920, who died prematurely in 1977, only spent 57 years. But for those 57 years, he has done excellent work for the country and also for the global community. He is the first person in this world who has introduced the essential drug concept, which has been later taken up by World Health Organization, and World Health Organization in 1983 in one of the special sessions especially talk about the work done by Professor Senaka Bibile. And of course, it has been taken by UN as a very important intervention, and he was requested to work for UNCTAD to come out with the policy for the developing countries. And then of course, when he was in Ghana, he passed away. It's still a mysterious event. And I remember one day when I was the DMO Mathur in 1992, the editor of one of the newspapers, popular newspapers, came to me and handed over a book which is about true story, and the story about Professor Senaka Bibile. I have read it maybe more than 100 times now, and that has really transformed my life as well. So we need to remind his great work. We need to follow his footsteps. We have to ensure that the people of Sri Lanka is given the safe efficacious medicine for affordable price. As a respect to him, and I stop here. Thank you so much for the patient hearing. Thank you.
Not only as a tribute to his enduring legacy, but also as a beacon of hope and progress, reminding us of the power of knowledge and compassion in shaping better tomorrow. Joining us honoring this remarkable figure whose impact resonates far and wide. For this moment, I would like to invite all the family members of Professor Senaka Bibile and country representative of World Health Organization, Dr. Ala Kazim, Director General Health Services, Dr. Asela Gunwadana, Chairman NMRA, Dr. Ananda Vijay Vikrama, member from Senaka Bibile Foundation, Mr. Upasena Jayaratna, and also veteran Dr. Palita Beko.
We have reached another highlight of today's event. It was a long felt need for the public to have easy
and very free and as a community service and national service because we like the NMRA to sort of develop. With their busy schedules to find out the registration status of it. Praveen, you want to explain how fast this app is?
So, if you search any name of any registered medicine in the database, it usually will find the results, like every possible result, in in fractions of a second. And even if you make a spelling mistake in one of your searches, this app can correct it for you, and it can find the similar spelled medicines in only like a second or two. Just to demonstrate, would you like to try misspelling one of the drug names and seeing, like misspelling paracetamol, for example, in the, go back to home and try misspelling paracetamol just to see the capability to like fix these errors. Okay.
Something like paracetamol or something like that.
Yeah, that should be good. I'll click search. And it might take a second or two because it has to search to 11,000 medicines. And there we go. Now we can see it's found they found the medicines that are correct. It's plus paracetamol, even though we typed it wrongly into the thing. So
if you click on one of these drop-down menus, so you could see that the registration details, and the dates of registration the company or the provider, all that information is there and the schedule, etc. And then hopefully we will be able to develop this, the cost aspect. Exactly, yes. So what Minister is asking, and of course Madam is also quite keen on this because we want to have effective and low cost medications. So for clinicians to be armored with the knowledge, how much medicine value for money they can get with prescriptions. So we want to incorporate the cost issue, but for that we need continuous support from NMRA for the prices and the revisions, etc. And hopefully we should be able to incorporate that into this. And we are also working on a second project about the devices, medical devices, so that you can use that again as free of charge for the service of community. Madam was the hero of this behind that.
Firm with NMRA in turbulent times and who has been stalwart and giant Sri Lankan medicine regulation. Dr. Palita Bekon currently serves as Senior Policy Advisor to WHO at global level. He was the Special Envoy of the WHO Director General for COVID-19 for the Southeast Asia region and now serves the WHO and World Bank Global Pandemic Preparedness Monitoring Board. I did not read his long CV except to merely say that he may be one of the few Sri Lankan now who had close professional and personal association with the late Professor Senaka Bibile in number of capacities, a student, a colleague, and he considered Professor Bibile one of his mentors who changed his professional life. So I cordially invite Dr. Palita Bekon to deliver the keynote speech.
Thank you very much for that very kind introduction. In fact, I like that introduction very, very much because normally I have seen and I have heard and I have gone through and most of you have done through. Some of these introductions sound as if you are standing at your own funeral. It's so long. So I'm very happy that you kept it short. Honourable Minister, Dr. Mahipal, Secretary, Anand, Chair of the NMRA, my friend Alka Singh, distinguished members of the medical profession, other professions, and distinguished invitees, colleagues and friends. While listening through, I was so absorbed with what the Honourable Minister, Secretary and Anand said, because that makes what I was going to say totally redundant. So what I'm going to do is, I'll repeat some of it, but I will show some slides and maybe show some aspects of Professor Bibile, less known to many of you, or some of you. Because, every year we have at least 2 orations on Bibile, and we have had this for the last 25 years or more. Every year we have medical students learning about Professor Bibile. So there is hardly anything new that anyone can say after all these years. But what we must recall is that there is no medical personality, certainly to my knowledge, in Sri Lanka who is remembered like this at any time. And I don't think there is any Sri Lankan medical personality who is remembered around the world as much as Professor Bibile is. Now, having said that, I should also thank Anand, you and Dr. Savin for this great privilege of being here and speaking a few words. It's very august, double ceremony celebrating Professor Bibile's work, as well as the 9 years of work that all of you have been engaged in with the NMRA. I'll share a few personal stories about Professor Bibile and then talk a little bit about NMRA. Honourable Minister asked me when we were lighting the lamp whether Bibile was my colleague, whether was a colleague of mine. I think you're joking. I am pretty, and Dr. Mahipal just said I'm a veteran. So I think both are true, but I'm not that much of a veteran. Anyway, Bibile, actually I knew him I knew him very, very closely. I knew him first as a student. I happened to be the first student who was registered at Peradeniya Medical Faculty when it opened. Bibile joined the medical faculty 2 years later. He was the first professor we had. He came from Colombo. We gave up a job, the professor job in Colombo. In fact, he was the first professor from Colombo who came to Peradeniya. Peradeniya always said that second person from Colombo going up to it because we were one faculty. Bibile was the first one who broke that tradition, and he came to Peradeniya as a professor after leaving Colombo. There was no leaving Colombo, but he took up the post of professor in Peradeniya. Then subsequently, in 2 years' time, he became the dean. Yeah. And that's Bibile that we know. Now, this is where he was born. Of course, he was not born in this particular house that is given in this picture. The house where he was born has been converted, been bought by a business group, I think, and they have converted this, and it is still the same architecture or same frame. I think people like Indira will remember that, or might remember this. Yeah, this has been changed, and now it's a boutique hotel, very expensive boutique hotel. But they are preserving the old architecture of the house still. And this is where you are born, his mother's house. It was called, at that time, it was called, now it's called Kakaluwa Mahawalawa, but it at that time called Olgas Atadahiwalawa. Apparently because that land had 8,000 acres of coconut. That's the story. Then I'll start off with another story, very simple story. One of my last experience with Bibile. When Bibile was leaving Sri Lanka to join UNCTAD and do the mission, he took a 1-year assignment with UNCTAD and left Sri Lanka in, I think, towards the end of 77. We organized a farewell for him at the medical faculty, and all the staff and everyone. And it was held in the studio of my department, the medical education department where I was working. And before the thing, he was quite friendly, I must confess. We were quite close because we were students. He and I did the first medical exhibition of Peradeniya together. And that was, he said that we must get, he was practicing this town and gown concept, where the gown or the university should serve the community. And this was the first way of educating the community in health and to develop basically the health literacy. What we are talking of now, he was thinking of that then, and he was trying to raise the health literacy of the community. So he came to my room and sat down, and among other things I asked him, sir, you are leaving now, are you very satisfied with the work that you did with the SPC? He thought for a while and he said, Palit, I am very happy with the work I did with the SPC. I wish I avoided 5 serious mistakes out of a possible 5,000. Now, of course, the next question the one would ask is, so what are those mistakes? You would like to know, what are the mistakes? As I was about to ask that, the dean at that time, Professor Jayatila, came, put his hand around Professor Bibile and said, Bibo, let's go and took him to that. So I still don't know what those 5, because that night, that night he left Peradeniya, that night he left Sri Lanka, and he never came back. So I cannot tell you what the 5 mistakes that you avoid with regard to SPC. That's the last meeting with Professor Bibile. Now I'll show you some other slides and finish. Yeah. This picture is also quite well known. This is his family, and Bibile is the one in the center. He was the eldest boy in the family of 6 people, and his father. And this picture, I don't know whether you have seen this picture. You know, it so happens that Professor Bibile and I went to the same school. Okay? And he was a top all-round student. Brilliant, versatile, and very good all-rounder. He played rugby, got rugby colors, etc. Drama, practically everything that was available in it, he was good at. But there's one story some of you do not know. While he was in his senior form, just afterwards, he had just completed his equivalent of senior, his father died, and they found it difficult to keep him at Trinity, private school, boarding school. So he India, you can correct me if I am wrong. He went and took a job in the agriculture department for a while as a clerk. But the principal, Professor Campbell, knew the boy's capabilities, he didn't remove him from school. And he negotiated for a benefactor funding through medical school and through Trinity and medical school. And that benefactor, I will not mention the name, but he was a consultant at the Greenfield Hospital. So Bibili came back. So the whole story of Senegal Bibili could have been a different story if a very generous, very kind person had not been around, and if the principal had let it go. Came back, and of course rest is history, as we say. Then from Trinity, he came to the medical school. Brilliant career by any standards. He got gold medals in surgery and in medicine, and obtained a first class in 1945 when finished. Outstanding career. Then the other point I want to highlight is that he could have chosen any job he wanted because he topped the batch. But he wanted to go out to the community. He went as MOH Bingiria. He didn't take a clinical job at that time, so he went Bingiria. And there's a nice story in Bingiria about Bingiria, which is too long to tell, but this was told to us by one of your predecessors, Dr. L.P.D. Gunawajan, who was Deputy General of Health Services sometime, about Bibili at Kandanagara Hospital, an incident there, and how he had responded to that. It's in his personal file. Exceptional sort of human being, even at that time. Then of course he went to University of Edinburgh, did his postgraduate degree. His PhD was on, I think, corticosteroids. I picked up some of these stories from Professor Indika Karnatilaka's little book that he did some time ago. Then, very quickly, the life as an academic. He joined the University of Ceylon, then Colombo faculty, 2 or 3 years in Colombo, and he was working in the Department of Physiology. There was no Department of Pharmacology at that time in Colombo. I think Professor Bibili was the first professor of pharmacology, and the department was created during his time, right? Yeah. And then he moved to Peradeniya in 64. And of course in 67 or 68 he became the first dean of the faculty. And while he was there, he founded the first medical education unit in Peradeniya. And that is what changed my life. Practically from nowhere he called me and said, I want you to go and do some work here. And reluctantly I went, but he knew what he was doing. He sent me off to do my postgraduate work, and that turned my life, professional life, almost 180 degrees. Then of course, as everyone has said, he joined UNCTAD in 1976. I'm sorry I'm adding personal notes on this because the regular things all of you have heard. I'm just making it, so that it may be a little bit, it may not sound like twice boiled cabbages. I want to give it like that, yeah. Now this, our Honorable Minister will recall this building. Our Secretary of Health will recall this building. Our DG will recall this building. This is the iconic Peradeniya entrance. There are others like that. And then Professor Bibile's office was there as dean. In fact, now we have a situation where we have the minister, honorable minister, secretary, DG, all coming from that building. With due apologies to all of you, like Dr. Gonsalvo. Anyway. And this is his vehicle of travel. He used to come to work on his scooter. And often he used to come to work on a bicycle. Yeah. Then I'll speak a few words about his contribution, which most of you know, but I think it's worth repeating. It bears repetition. Yeah. This is the front page of the famous Vikramasinghe Bibili report of 1971. Very few copies are available. I managed to find one and made copies. And this is what changed the medicine scene in Sri Lanka. this report by Vikram Singh and Vivek in 1971. These are the basic the essential medicines concept which they prescribe for Sri Lanka. Rational selection and purchase of medicines from any good quality source. That good quality source is important to underline because that changed a lot of things that happened here. Rational use of medicines, and for that lots of support are given to the doctors and everyone else. Education of prescribers, doctors mainly, pharmacists and the community very much. Increasing local manufacture, processing only, not developing fine chemicals. This distinction was made there. They recommended that we only do the processing and not develop fine chemicals. Quality assurance at all stages, including laboratory testing. Developed a lab. For that time, it was quite a upmarket lab. And setting up of the SPC, which was actually the State Trading Corporation Drugs Division, which was later transformed into the SPC, which came, like Dr. Mahipal said, came to the ministry. These are the main features. And then the Bivile Vikram Singh committee had some radical reforms that were suggested. Rationalization of the drug list. National Formulary Committee had reduced the number of the government sector medicines from 4,000 to 2,100 in 1959. The National Formulary of Sri Lanka was developed by Professor Bivile in 1959, as long as that, before we thought of anything like the NMRA or anything else. And then creation of a government buying agency for the entire pharmaceutical sector. SPC was set up in 1971 to make all the bulk buying for Sri Lanka. All the other companies which are trading in drugs, bringing them here, could not bring them out. This was a very radical move, had lots of problems, had lots of opposition, obviously. The pharma trade, the companies were not happy. When I say not happy, they were very angry about it. Then replacing use of brand names to generic names and discouraging drug promotion. Very radical, that's why I say very radical reforms at that time. And then promotion of drugs by manufacturers stopped. Except for some OTC drugs, everything else stopped. You can see how the pendulum swung almost to the other extreme, isn't it? And then, what do you think? He made this is the beginning of the SPC, and he was made the chairman of the SPC by the then Minister of Industries. You are one of your predecessors. Yeah. This is one of the early pictures of the SPC. I put this up because this has a story. And this probably the Bivile in front. I don't know who the gentleman in the middle is, but the gentleman on the right hand side is Mr. Rupa Singh over here, the first employee of the SPC under Dr. Professor Bivile. He is here. He is a devotee of Professor Bivile, always talking about him. The point why I show this has another relevance. SPC, they were starting the employees, the EPF funding. And all of them told Professor Bivile, you become the first person to receive the EPF from the SPC. Professor Bivile said, no, I get my salary from the university. So he didn't take any allowance, he didn't take a car, he used his own transport which he had, and used to travel for the weekends to Peradhan. He didn't take it. But he suggested that let Ms. Rupa Singh be the first EPF recipient in the SPC, so he has EPF number 1 of the SPC. Am I right?
Yes.
That was the kind of man he was. Then he had the 34 drug program. You said he wanted to produce 34 drugs in Sri Lanka, manufacture them. But ultimately, lots of opposition from various places. People, some countries didn't want to send the APIs, and then the protests at the diplomatic level ultimately produced the number was reduced to 14. And then, of course, as you know, the next stage, and it's worth, I don't think it's anything wrong mentioning one of the companies which is in literature, so I'm just quoting public knowledge. The Pfizer company was vehemently against the position that took on these things. In fact, it is on record and we have the documents. I've done some work on this. I'll show you what happened. Yeah. MNCs are actually, you see. And BBA committee recommended abolition of product patents. At that time, they had both product and process patents, but he abolished the product patents. And the product patents means, colleagues know that, you can produce something without going through the process by reverse engineering. And many countries are doing that. India was very famous for doing that. Only now they are going into because the patent laws changed since that time. Now they have to do the other way, and they are up with it. So they abolished the product patents, which means you can buy the same product from any source, the cheap source. What was at that time, now it is called parallel import, but at that time it was a different way of handling it. So he got a lot of medicines from the Eastern European countries, very cheap. People sometimes used to raise questions about quality, but he did his best to ensure that the quality was assured. Then, I'm running through this. The protest mounted. And this is a very good example, Dr. Alaka Singh, of commercial determinants of health. It's a very classic example of commercial determinants of even at that time. So this question of Sri Lanka became global news, and the American Senate supported Pfizer through their embassy and said this will affect Sri Lanka's investments if you go on like this. Countries will not be able to invest in Sri Lanka under these rules, right or wrong, but nevertheless at that time that was what happened. And the government, the key people who supported Professor Bivile moved, Professor Dr. NMRA and people like that, they left the government, the government separated. And Bivile himself left in, I think, early 76, left the SPC, and he went back. And then what happened after that? After that, most of the things are reversed. The new government that came to power, it had a different philosophical outlook, it had different manifesto, different mandate, so they were following that. They changed a lot of the work that was done, but they maintained a few. What was retained was centralized drug purchase for government by the SPC, that they kept. That's what the SPC is doing now. And they abolished the abolition of brand names in government sector was retained. Those will still carry on. All restrictions on private sector importing, manufacturing and marketing abolished. The restrictions on use of brand names and promotion lifted. The 34 drug program was stopped. But in line with the Bivile Vikrama Committee, a public sector manufacturing firm was set up in 1980s, and that became the SPMC. I'm counting in a few words about his work outside Sri Lanka. Left Sri Lanka in 76, and this I think Dr. Mahipal referred to. This essential medicines concept is adopted by the WHO at the World Health Assembly in 77. But the work went on in the WHO before that, but the resolution itself was adopted, and almost 90% of it is on Bivile had written as well. So much so that, and also with UNCTAD, Dr. Bivile worked mainly with UNCTAD, not with WHO. WHO was using some of his work. They started a global program of developing rational medicine concept in different countries. In fact, Malaysia and a few other countries developed simultaneously with ours. And then he was asked to go to the Caribbean islands. There are 8 countries there to develop the Caribbean essential medicines program. And because of Dr. Bivile's work, which the WHO and all these people recognize, the 30th, that they said, WHO decided to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Bivile's essential medicines policy, and we were able to bring it to Sri Lanka. All these people, they came to Sri Lanka. I know that you were in Sri Lanka at that time. Yeah, 2007, yeah. I think that was Aniversary Palestine, yeah. And all these people who were from different countries which adopted BBLS were in Sri Lanka, big global meeting event at that time. And today, WHO and many countries have been architect for this investment program. Unfortunately, we did not live long enough to see it being adopted as a global policy. I'll stop there about BBLA, and this is a picture I got from one of the books. This is a sad picture, very sad picture. This is a picture of his funeral in Guyana. I think they brought the ashes to Sri Lanka, and the ashes are interned at the Savat cemetery. So due to the far-reaching effects of this proposal, this one of the big leading professors of pharmacology had written in a memorial note to the Vivian and the family. Due to the far-reaching effects of his proposals and policies, he has been rightly called the greatest medical benefactor of humanity that Sri Lanka has hitherto produced. Very true, very true. So that's our tribute to Mananali Professor Bibile. Now, I was also asked by Dr. Sami to speak a few words about the NMRA, but the chairman and they have given a much better description of the NMRA than I could. So what I will do is I'll quickly add a few points and I'll close. I think I'll highlight one or two things on this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, the slides here, but Dr. Anand mentioned some of this. The CDD Act of 80 and the regulations of 84. But since 2000, various interest groups, mostly from the medical faculties, professors, students, public, patients' rights groups, they were agitating, lobbying for reforms under the umbrella of implementing BBLA policies. So BBLA kept on, recurring BBLA policies kept on. They had life, even at that time, lot of life. And to me, that's a very good example of community engagement in policy development. You know, for policy development, you need the community, you need the bureaucracy, and you need the political leadership. If the three of them are able to work together, policies get adopted fast and conclude. If any one of those groups do not see eye to eye with the others, then you have problems of developing policy. And we see that all the time here, unless of course you force the policy through. You cannot do that now. Then, like Anand said, they appointed the Belliga Structure Committee in 12 and they made a draft in 2013. But this draft was to maintain the CDD, to streamline the CDD Act. It didn't have any of the features that we are talking on. It was to strengthen the CDD itself. Now that is why the committee came in at a public seminar in June 2014. After critique of that draft, Belligas of the draft by, I think, Professor Lal Jayakodi, he was the lead speaker who was given that document, and contributions by so many other stakeholders. Everyone proposed almost unanimously that there should be an independent authority not under the DGHS. And that's how the NMRA Act came to begin. That is how the NMRA Act began and how the NMRA came to be born. And the new Act became a part of H.E. Maithripal Sirisena's what is called the 100-day program from January 15. And NMRA bill was dated 2/2/15, submitted to Parliament by Minister Rajesh Singh at that time as an emergency bill, passed as an act in March 2015, all within a few weeks. The main point I want to highlight for you is that if the NMRA Act was respected and followed, those events could have never happened. And that is at full stop. It could not have happened. All those safeguards were built into that. In fact, our NMRA Act was so advanced, when I say advanced for our purposes, it has two clauses which very few or no other medicines acts have in the world. And that is, we have a need clause and a cost clause. And when I presented this at a WHO meeting some time ago in the Maldives, the Thai people came and asked me, can you include cost and need in, I think we have, and our stakeholders seem to be okay. And that has a strong hold on controlling the prices and the quality of medicines. We have that. But with all that, let's forget the last year or two, let's look forward now, yeah. And now we have another period of hope. And these are to me some of the unfinished challenges. I think we spoke about some of them earlier. Maintaining the independence and credibility of the NMRA is very important. Maintaining the independence and credibility. Continuing to ensure quality safety, for that's a main mandate that has to continue. There are many things that could be improved. Building technical capacity, we must try to achieve WHO benchmark level 2 or 3 within the next 2 years. And I think for the new board, these are challenges that they should really face up to. Strengthen the laboratory capacity, we just spoke about it. I think this will happen. Digitalization, this is also being discussed. I think it will happen. And supporting local production in a different way. There are lots of studies going on with regard to local production. I'm sure the Honourable Minister and the Secretary and the DG will look at those in due course and set up the roadmap for strengthening local production. And for that, NMRA has to play the critical role. NMRA has to play a critical role.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to introduce Emeritus Professor of Pharmacology, Professor Rita Fernando. She has graduated from Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, with MBBS second class honours in 1973. Then she has postgraduate training in general medicine and geriatric medicine at hospitals of the National Health Services, United Kingdom. After her return, she has been appointed senior lecturer in pharmacology, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. That was in 1984. When she has been promoted to the post of promoted Associate Professor of Pharmacology in 1996. She has been appointed Chair and Founder Professor of Pharmacology. From Colombo, she has moved to the University of Jawaharlal in 1997. So she was the Founder Professor and Chair of Pharmacology. She was promoted Senior Professor of Pharmacology, and she retired in 2013. After that, she has been appointed Emeritus Professor of Pharmacology, University of Srinagar. She had many roles in Ministry of Health and in the regulatory field from the CDDA days and newly formed NMRA. She has been the Secretary of Drug Evaluation Subcommittee of Cosmetics, Devices and Drugs Authority from 1989 to 2015. Then she became the Secretary of Medicine Evaluation Committee of NMRA from 2015 to 2016. She was also a member of the Technical Advisory Committee of the CDDA from 1989 to 2015. She had been also a board member of State Pharmaceutical Corporation as well as the State Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Corporation. She had been also a member of Formula Revision Committee of the Medical Supplies Division, and she was a past president of the Sri Lanka Medical Association in 2007. She was also the chairperson Medicinal Drugs Committee of SLMA for 2 decades from 1996. Also, I would like to mention that she was instrumental in establishing the first pharmacy degree in the University of Colombo. That was in she coordinated before that she coordinated the Diploma in Pharmacy program of Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo, before starting the Bachelor of Pharmacy course in University of Sri Jagadhanapura, was the founder coordinator. Madam, This is our appreciation for your great contribution and dedicated work for the regulatory field of the both NMRA and CBDA.
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to invite Honorable Minister Dr. Ramesh Pathirana to present the memento to Professor Geeta Fernando.
I invite Ms. Nishani Lanka from Medicines Regulatory Division to read the citation of Professor Rohini Fernando-Pulle.
Good morning, everyone. It is great pleasure to introduce Senior Professor Rohini Fernando-Pulle. Senior Professor Rohini Fernando-Pulle is currently the Professor of Clinical Pharmacology and Therapeutics at the General Sir John Patalawala Defence University. She is an Emeritus Professor in Pharmacology, Faculty of Medicine, University of Colombo. She has been Professor in Clinical Pharmacology and Member of Senate in International Medical University, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in 2007. Until recently, she has been the WHO National Consultant of Regulatory Function to National Medicines Regulatory Authority and currently appointed as Honorary Clinical Pharmacologist to the NMRA. And she is a national expert on regulation of medicine and pharmacovigilance. She has served a member of many expert committees meeting of the WHO, Uppsala Monitoring Center and the Ministry of Health Sri Lanka. She has been a member of WHO Expert Committee for Global Selection of Essential Medicines, WHO Headquarters Geneva in 2006 to 2012. She currently serves in the Medicine Evaluation Committee, Pricing Committee and Safety and Risk Evaluation Committee of the NMRA. She has trained many juniors who themselves are not expert in various disciplines, and she has been a recipient of many prestigious awards, including Presidential Award for Research and too many to name. Her research inherits include drug utilization, drug safety and herbal medicines. She has authored over 75 publications and written chapters and books. She was the chairperson of Ministerial Committee formulating the Essential Drug List in Sri Lanka. She is a member of WHO International Working Group for Drug Statistic Methodology and Global Network for Post-Marketing Surveillance of Newly Pre-Qualified Vaccines. And also, she was appointed as WHO CRO's Expert Advisor to facilitate and finalize National Essential Medicines List in Maldives 2008. And me and my fellow colleagues at NMRA have been privileged and honored to be guided and mentored by such a vastly experienced and motherly personality in Professor Rohini Fernando-Pulle's calibre. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much, sir. This brings us to the conclusion of the NMRA Day 2024. Without you, we could not have this much of success event. Please be kind enough to give your fullest support and strength to continue the development of our journey. Please join with your refreshments. It's available at both sides of the hall.